So my name is Eddie Bodkin. I've been investing in the Chattanooga market over the past 8 years, and also work as a real estate agent on Grace's team. So we specialize in working with investors. So today we're going to be talking about how to invest in real estate using your self-directed IRA and solo 401k. So just by show of hands, how many of you guys already have some type of self-directed retirement account set up? Okay, yeah, good. So about half of you guys. How many of you guys don't have a self-directed retirement account set up? Okay, we're going to talk about that. So before we get started here, I just want to point out that this is just for educational purposes only. I'm not an attorney or CPA. We are going to look at examples that we do and that some of our investors do. But just make sure to talk to your CPA or attorney before entering in any transaction. And just if you guys have any questions, just write those down. And I'm going to present, and then Grace is going to talk, and then we're going to come back and do a Q&A. All right. So what is a self-directed IRA? So it's an IRA where the account holder controls the investments. All right? It's legally the same as an IRA that's not self-directed, except the account agreement gives you the ability to invest in a broad range of investments. So another way to look at it is to invest in private assets versus publicly traded assets. So let me ask you guys a question. Who in here believes that Wall Street and the big banks and the financial institutions are looking out for your best interest? Who in here believes that? Okay, because the reality is they're not. When you go and invest in mutual funds, then you're taking on all the risk. If there's a loss, then you lose. If there's a profit, well, guess what? You still lose because they're keeping most of the money. But that's the way most people use their 401ks to invest. But that's also what makes what we're talking about today so powerful. So you may wonder, why have we not heard about self-directed IRAs, or why is it not talked about very often? And it's really the reason I just described, because most custodians are banks and financial institutions. But self-directed IRAs have been around since the IRAs have been around. And most of the banks and financial institutions make money on their stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. So that's why you typically just hear about your regular IRA that's not self-directed versus your self-directed IRA. Okay, so I'm going to go over the differences in a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA and just compare that, and then we'll get into the solo K. So the traditional IRA, contributions are typically tax deductible. So you take your tax deductions each year when you make your contributions. And then the growth is tax deferred. And you pay taxes on the distributions whenever you take the money out. You start taking the required minimum distributions at age 70 and a half. Then after that, you can't make any more contributions. Okay, so the Roth. So what you'll see here is that there's a lot more flexibility with the Roth in terms of just the few things we just described. So contributions are made with after-tax dollars. So it's going to be when you contribute to that each year, or however often you do it, it'll be money that you've already paid taxes on. Okay, and the growth is tax deferred, but the distributions are tax-free. All right, so as real estate investors, do we want to pay taxes on the contributions of up to $5,500 a year or on our growth? No. We want to pay taxes on the contributions, because let's just say if you go and you purchase a property to flip and you make $30,000 and that goes back into your retirement account tax-free, you've already multiplied, what your annual contribution can be, like 5 or 6 times the amount. So we want it to typically be, we want to pay taxes typically on the contributions and not the growth. So the difference is paying taxes on the acorn versus the tree that it grows into. All right. So this is another thing that's different from the traditional IRA, which is there's no required minimum distributions while the account holder is alive. And contributions are allowed after age 70 and a half. And your contributions can be taken in and out tax-free. So what you put into that is really like a savings account. Okay? You can take that in and out at any time. So really, the thing is here, you can keep doing deals in your Roth, even past retirement age, and keep getting that tax-free growth, and then keep taking the distributions tax-free. And then your beneficiaries receive tax-free distribution. So you can pass it on to your heirs. If you grow a nice big retirement account, you can pass it on to your heirs. All right, so to make a contribution, you have to have qualified income, which is basically your active income, W-2 or Schedule C income. So real estate investors, so if you own a rental property, if you do some type of passive income, that's Schedule E, so that's not qualified income. But you can use your spouse's qualified income to count towards your contributions. All right, so Roth 2018 IRA rules. So the tax-free distributions start at age 59 and a half, and you have to have the account open for 5 tax years. So that means if you actually opened up an account right now, then 2017 would count as that first year because it's before April 15th. So you can actually basically save off a year if you don't have one open and you did it before April 15th. So this is what you have to look at in terms of the qualified distribution. So if you're going to get the tax-free distributions, then it's going to be after age 59 and a half and after you have the account 5 tax years. So you can put in $5,500 a year. If you're 50, age 50 or above, you can do an additional $1,000, which is $6,500 a year. Income limitation, so if you're single, once you get to the $120,000 a year mark, then you're going to start phasing out. Then if you're married, filing jointly, it's going to be at $189,000. So and that's what we're going to do when we talk about the solo K, is that there's no income limitations. So that's going to be more attractive typically to people that have higher active income. All right. So setting up the Roth IRA. So this is pretty simple, but I just wanted to talk about this to show how simple it is. Okay. So you choose a custodian, open an account. That's pretty simple. You know, it's a Quest IRA, equity trust, one of those. And then you fund your account. So it'll either be a transfer for the same type of plan, so from an IRA to an IRA, or a rollover from a former employer. And it does have to be an employer that you no longer work at to do this. So if you have a 401k or another type of retirement account from a former employer, then you can roll that over to your self-directed IRA. Or a conversion from a traditional IRA, which is basically taking some of the money from the traditional IRA, then converting that to a Roth, and then making a cash contribution. And you choose an investment. So the Roth conversion, I just wanted to point this out because this is actually something that, just as investors, and those of you that are, especially that are buying, fixing, and reselling, doing flips or even wholesaling, this is something that would be attractive to you because it's a way to do a conversion and to be able to pay the taxes quickly before the tax bill comes due. So if you move funds from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA, you have to pay taxes on that money. It's going to be whatever your tax bracket is at the time. However, the taxes will be due the following year. So, how many of you guys think that you could go find a house and renovate it and resell it within that next year? Then you make the money back. So let's say you have a $15,000 tax bill, but you make $25,000 or $30,000 doing a rehab. You've already made the money back, so there's not really much of a recovery period because you make it back before you have to pay it. So that's really a game changer in terms of converting, from a traditional to a Roth, is being able to make the money before you have to pay it to the IRS. All right. So what strategies can you use with your self-directed IRA? Okay, one, and this is what we're talking about today. You can buy and sell residential and commercial real estate. So you can buy, fix, and resell. You can wholesale. You can purchase rental properties. So that's your residential, single-family homes, your multifamily, apartment deals, whatever it is that you're investing niche. For the most part, you can do that in this type of an account. Private lending. Okay, so this is a situation where you become the bank. So typically you're lending money on a piece of real estate where another investor buys it below market and they're fixing it up and reselling it. So it's usually a short-term loan, high interest, but it's one way. It's something that some of our smartest investors do. They use this strategy. So it's a way to earn passive income by letting someone else do the heavy lifting. So, and just as a side note, if you do lend money on some real estate, and then you want to make sure that you lend to somebody that has the right systems in place. So you want to make sure they have the right marketing systems in place to where they find good deals, and then the right systems in place to analyze the deals, and then the right systems in place to manage the contractors, which is about 50% of your rehab success. And then the right systems in place to sell the property so you can sell it in the shortest time frame possible. Wholesaling. All right, so this is a strategy where you get a piece of property, you get a property under contract, then you assign the contract to somebody else. Okay, and I started out in real estate doing this 8 years ago. You can also do it by buying and selling the property like a back-to-back close, but just what we're talking about here, we're just talking about assigning the contract. So you get a property under contract, say for $50,000, you got a buyer for $55,000. So that buyer pays the $5,000 assignment fee, and that goes back into your retirement account. So that right there, you could do one deal like that and make more typically, or at least as much as what your annual contribution would be at $5,500, but that would be tax-free. Now, the one side note I would say about that is, if you do some wholesaling in that, I would probably limit that. Talk to your CPA about that, just because you can do it, but if you start doing it too much, it may be subject to a tax to where it wouldn't be tax-free. So you can do it to kind of get started, but I wouldn't do it excessively. Okay, joint venture. So this is cool, and some of you guys do this on some of your deals outside of your self-directed accounts. But that's basically where you just partner with someone else on a deal. They're your deal partner, all right? So you could have a situation where maybe you go in with another investor with their IRA, and you partner maybe 50-50 on the deal. Both of you put equal amounts of money in. Both of you manage the rehab, or you maybe have a situation where one person puts in less money, but they manage the entire rehab. So you're partnering with other people. And you can also partner with people that don't have a self-directed account, as long as it's not people in your lineal or your vertical lineage. You can partner with people that are just have their own capital. Tax liens. Okay, well in Tennessee it's tax deeds, but you can buy tax liens or tax deeds, and then you may either acquire the property, or if the person redeems the property and pays you interest, then that would go back into your retirement account. Real estate notes. This is similar to private lending, but in this case, it's probably going to be a situation where you're going to buy a note at a discount. So, for example, maybe an investor has a loan that someone's not paying them back, and you go buy the note at a discount, right? So then at that point, you would take over the property, or you would either get those people current, or you could pay an attorney a couple $1,000s to foreclose and take the property back. So let's say in this environment where we have a lot of competition, it's a seller's market. I mean, how many of you guys think that if you were able to buy a discounted note at 50 cents on the dollar, or 50% of the ARV, that you can make money, even paying an attorney to foreclose? You could definitely do that without a doubt. So that would be a way to even acquire property. If you wanted to do that and hold it as a rental, or if you wanted to rehab it, or if you just wanted to put it back on the market and sell it. If you buy it at that much of a discount right now, you can probably just put it on MLS and list it and make a pretty good profit selling to someone else. All right, so limited liability companies. So that's just using your self-directed IRA to basically purchase ownership in an LLC. Private stock, so buying ownership in a corporation. All right, so does this make sense? Okay, awesome. All right, so I want to go over prohibited transactions. Okay, so basically, it's pretty simple. I mean, there's sometimes you'll have people that give you a long list of stuff you can't do. Really, to break it down to just where it's more simplified, you can't buy life insurance or collectibles. Okay, so metals, gems, stamps, rugs, coins, artwork. The exception would be you can buy government-issued coins, so that is something you can invest in. Gold and silver. So it just has to be that particular type of coins. Then transactions involving this qualified person. So that's going to be either you or your spouse or your employer, and also family members in your vertical lineage. So and their spouses. But you can partner or invest with aunts, uncles, brothers, cousins, people that are not in your vertical lineage. Then also your IRA custodians and CPAs, advisors, and then any entity or company where you own at least 50% of the company. So if you just have 49% ownership, then you can still do that in those cases. All right. So the solo K. So this, so we're going to talk about the differences, the advantages that the solo K has. So basically, most of these things that we've talked about are advantages, things that you can do in your solo K, versus the same thing you can do in your IRA, you can typically do in your solo K. Up to this point. So now we're going to talk about the advantages of your solo 401k. So typically, this is going to be a situation where you will typically have a sponsoring company, so it would be like an active business that you have. So like in our case, it would be like our active real estate investing and wholesaling business, all right? And that would be the sponsoring company of our solo K. So it's typically just going to be you and your spouse and no full-time employees. So you can have part-time employees but no full-time employees. In some cases, it may also be a partner and their spouse, but just for this example, for the most part, it's going to be your spouse and you and your spouse and no full-time employees. So I mentioned this a minute ago, so no income limitations, okay? So that's why it makes this more attractive to people that have a higher income. Because, after the $120,000 annual income, active income, when you are single, or $189,000 when you're married, you don't have that here. You can still make contributions. And here's something cool about this is that you make contributions on pre-tax and after-tax dollars, all right? So basically, the solo 401k, you can still do like a traditional IRA, or you can have a traditional bucket and also your Roth bucket. All right, so you can have Roth contributions of up to $18,000. So that already is quite a bit more than what you can just put into with your self-directed IRA. All right, and it offers maximum freedom and flexibility. And you can also do personal loans, which is what we're going to go into here. Okay, so just to make some of this more clear and to give you guys more of a picture on what you can do and what you can't do and how it compares to the self-directed IRA. So right here, so protection. So in your IRA, you just have protection under bankruptcy laws up to $1 million. So if you go bankrupt, your retirement account in an IRA is protected up to $1 million. That does not count if someone sues you. If someone sues you, then they could take your distributions in an IRA. But in the solo K, it's 100% protected by ERISA laws. So that way, there is a barrier there. If someone tries to sue you personally, they can't go into your retirement account. So okay. Contribution limits. So for the IRA, it's $5,500 to $6,500 a year for 2018. For the solo K, it's $55,000 to $61,000 a year that you can contribute. Now I mentioned about the Roth bucket. So $18,000 of this, and the $55,000 would be what you can contribute as a Roth, and the rest would be what you sponsor from your company. IRA, you can't do loans. Solo K, you can do 50% of the value of the account, up to $50,000. Okay, so this right here, unrelated debt finance income. So basically, if you try to use financing or leverage financing to buy property in your IRA, you can get taxed at 39.6%. So that is basically something that it's when you get a non-recourse loan. So the way you have to do it is you can't personally guarantee a loan in your retirement account. So you have to get a non-recourse loan, but then the profits, once you make just a certain amount, and it's not very much, you can be taxed up to 39.6% on that amount that you finance. So you have to finance 50% of the purchase price of the property. So meaning you have to put down 50% as well. But in the IRA, you can be taxed up to 39.6%. But in the solo K, you're exempt from that. So you can get the non-recourse loan and not be penalized. So the Roth contributions phase out, which is what we talked about, but no phase out in terms of your income level with solo K. All right, so the solo 401k loan. So borrow up to $50,000 or half the value of the account. Must pay it back over the next 5 years. So the interest rate should be compatible with commercial lenders. So for example, it would be something like prime plus 1%. You can really do, I mean, you can make it different, but that's just, an example of something that you would typically do, or that your custodians would typically recommend in a situation like that. And you must go through your custodian. So this is not a situation where you can just write the check. You got to have your custodian set this up. And now this is something cool. There's no restrictions on how the money is used. So you can use it for marketing, you can use it for business expense, you can use it for your real estate deals. So let's say, for example, I talk to people that, maybe they get out of corporate America, they got some money saved up, they want to start a real estate business. Okay, so they can take that money from their employer 401k and transfer it to their solo K, then loan themselves $50,000 for startup costs. So you can use it for marketing or to maybe put down on a hard money loan or whatever you want to do. So there's not any restrictions on that. All right, checkbook control. So this is another advantage of your solo K. Now, you can also do this in an IRA, and we'll kind of point that out in a minute, but checkbook control allows you to have access to the retirement account. You have access to the funds. So instead of waiting on your self-directed IRA company or your 401k company to distribute funds for a deal, you can write the check. You have access to do that. So the way that you do that is you set up an LLC with the custodian as the member and you as the manager of the LLC. So that's what allows you to be able to write a check for a deal. Then you set up a checking account for the self-directed LLC. And whenever you want to do a deal, you transfer the funds from the solo K to the self-directed LLC. You choose an investment and write a check. All right, so benefits of checkbook control. Speed of implementation. So you don't have to wait on your custodian to process the transactions, which is what we have mentioned. I've had deals where, I've been selling a property to someone that has a self-directed IRA and it took several weeks in some cases to do that. It shouldn't take that much, but sometimes there can be delays and things that would prevent you from closing when you want to. And especially in this market where stuff is selling really fast in most cases. How important is this? This is something that you definitely want to consider when you're buying in your retirement account versus just your cash funds. It helps you to avoid transaction fees from your custodian because depending on how your account's set up, you either have to pay per transaction or per asset. But this can help you avoid that because you're the one that's in control of the checkbook. It eliminates per asset fees. So say if you have 3 or 4 rental properties in your LLC, that's just one asset versus having several assets by themselves, which you would, if you're paying your custodian per asset, you would pay them an extra fee per property or whatever else you own. No restrictions on how you invest. So this is just, this gives you more flexibility because there's some custodians that may not do certain transactions. Even if they're perfectly legal, they may not want to do the paperwork that's involved in those transactions. So that may limit you to some degree. So in this case, you can invest how you want. But there's even more flexibility in what you invest in. Asset protection. So what happens is, so I'll go to this right here. So what happens is, this is your sponsoring company. This is your retirement account. This is your LLC that you use to purchase property. And again, you can do this with an IRA. So you wouldn't even have to have the active income LLC here. You could just do your IRA and self-directed LLC. But just with the solo K, you have to have the sponsoring company. But so what happens is this creates a barrier between your retirement account and also between you. So if we go back to what we talked about with the ERISA laws and how that protects your retirement account from you, it doesn't protect you from your retirement account. So meaning that when you go and buy property, there's a liability in that, right? And I've had investors that I've worked with that have said, my property's in my retirement account. I'm good, I'm protected. Well, that's not necessarily the case, because your retirement account is a trust. And a trust doesn't provide asset protection. It can provide anonymity in the case of a land trust. It makes it more difficult to find out who the owner is. But it doesn't provide the separation between you and your retirement account, or between your properties and your retirement account. So if you had a lawsuit, let's say, for example, if you guys want to see what I'm talking about, then just go on tax records and search equity trust. Just do a name search of equity trust. and then pull up, that'll pull up everybody in Hamilton County that has their retirement account with Equity Trust. And what does it say? It says Equity Trust, IRA, FBO, for benefit of that person's full legal name and their account number. So if I'm a litigation attorney and a tenant calls me and says, hey, I want to sue this person, I fell on their property, there's a problem or whatever, I'll just go look up the name and then I'll see, hey, guess what? I already see who their personal name is. I know they're the beneficiary. All right, and then let me just go ahead and just search their personal name to see if they have more rental properties in their personal name or their personal residence in their personal name. So what this does when we have the LLC is that would isolate the lawsuit to just that LLC. Meaning that if you had a couple rental properties there and someone sues you, well, I mean, it wouldn't go past that. So instead of it going potentially, if the lawsuit was big enough and the judgment was big enough, it could go into that solo K or the IRA and they could collect more money there. And if there wasn't enough money there to satisfy the lawsuit, they could go to you. So that's one of the really, I think, one of the primary benefits of doing this is just having that protection. All right, so that's what I was going to talk about, guys. But these are the resources if you guys want to set this up. This is the custodian I use here, Plus IRA. And they've also got some great training. If you guys look them up on Facebook or look on their website, they've got some great training videos. I mean, a lot of stuff that we talk about today and even more. Equity Trust is another common IRA company, Entrust. Then these two companies, if you're interested in the solo K, the Mono Corporate Headquarters, and then Monticello 401k.net, they can get you guys set up with that. So Grace, do you want to come up and talk about, she's going to talk about some examples of what she's done, and then after she's done, we'll do a Q&A.